Okay, let's start recording. This is Nicholas from Serbia. The call sign is YU7VSN, Yankee Uniform 7 Victoria, Sugar, Norway. What I'm doing here is a desktop session recording to present for a couple of my friends my derivative, my alternative of Windows operating system. It's Linux. It's based on the Debian 12.1. And it's called the MX Linux 23. Now we're going to type in the search bar here in the start menu. We're going to type in welcome. And it says MX welcome, yeah? So, about the distro. The distro is called the MX-23 Libretto. It's based on the Debian Linux version 12.1. And the desktop environment, what you see in front of yourself, is a XFCE version 4.18.1, which has progressed a lot in the past 10 years. Number two, why I'm using this desktop environment. Linux has a lot of desktop environments. The most famous ones are XFCE, what you see here, GNOME, and KDE. But other than that, there is many other lightweight, midweight, and heavy-duty weight desktop environments for the same operating system. So you can mix those. You can install and mix those. But why I'm presenting this one, and this is primarily for K1GMM and for M6ENS Dave. Also, if K4GHC is watching, that would be good. My derivative and my alternative of a Windows operating system is this one. The graphical environment reminds me very much of the good old Windows XP with its simplicity. It's very, very simple, very basic. Let's open up the home icon, which is standing for my computer on Windows. It's a substitute. It's let's say a replacement. This is a start menu. If you look at the start menu, you can resize that one in whatever particular way you want. I'm just going to stretch it out enough that I have all the categories open and I have all the explanations. Bottom side here, you have the settings manager, which is your control panel. If you would look at the Windows control panel, this is a control panel in Linux, especially the Linux Debian MX distribution. In the XFCE environment, it reminds a lot about Windows XP, right? So you have all your basic and advanced settings here. As you can see, categories like personal, hardware, system, and other. If you go at About Me or whatever, you're going to set up numerous different things in this Linux. I'm going to leave this to you guys because you speak native English, and for you it's much easier than for us. Now the second thing is that Linux doesn't mount, if you don't give it a command, it doesn't mount immediately all the partitions on your hard drives as readable. Now you see on my desktop that I have a Evo 240GB, that means Samsung Evo 240 gigabytes SSD, and another one which is a mechanical 750 gigabytes drive. And also here below is a 167 gigabyte volume, which is actually the Windows partition on this drive that we're working from. The only thing what is not shown is the Linux partition, which is hidden and which is perfectly normal. One of the examples of the file manager systems beside the classical Explorer, which here is called Thunar. If you see here closely, it's called a Thunar 4.18.4. That's a typical Windows Explorer file manager, at least a mimic of it. Now I'm using the same web browser as I would be using on Windows. It's available. It's called Google Chrome. As far as the torrent programming, downloading torrents from any BitTorrent site, I'm using a QBitTorrent 4.5.3. Here it is. It's the same thing as the MeTorrent or whatever uTorrent you would be using on Windows. Very easy to learn, very easy to set up, even more options and even more descriptions. Give it a quick overview. On my right hand side on my desktop, you're gonna see the bar and the information which is floating on desktop, and it's called the K1G Manager. The K1G is a graphical environment show up of system information and resources, as if you would be looking at famous old Windows sidebar, or what was the name, in Windows Vista and Windows 8. So that was available back then. On Linux, it's very popular. You can get all your information just smacked into the K1G, and that thing shows your information about your PC in real time, which is very good to check your resources and pull the data about anything what you need to see if it's overoccupied. System time, system date, resources pooled, being used or available, media, Ethernet, monitoring, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. In the bottom side of the desktop, you can see the taskbar. Now, the taskbar on Linux, in this graphical environment, this configuration of the XFCE4 desktop environment, is very easily organizable. So you have your icon shortcuts for all your different programs. If you go right clicking on panel and checking the panel preferences, you have different options to set up your panel, your items, and so on, if you see, which is very easy to organize. Now, I'm kind of hoping that you're following up this one, Steve and Dave, or whatever, who is ever catching up with this video. Very, very nice thing to play around with, and has a lot of compatibility with different software that you use also on Windows. My primary goal is to check out this one. Let's open up a terminal command window, and let's type in the command which says SU. It stands for sudo, and my sudo password, which I'm typing in right now as we speak, and you don't see nothing. Pressing enter brings me into the God mode. God mode means root user sudo. That's the famous command on Linux. Read about it a little bit. If I type in htop, which should be a program which is very low resource and very low demand, and showing you all your current status of your processes, resources available, and digging and so on and working. Let's hit enter. There we go. htop says like this. You have 120 of tasks. Yeah? So you have an average load of 0.98%. Not even 1. Uptime of this system now in this moment is 11 minutes. Resources by the processor cores while recording this desktop session and running different things is not more than 20%. And my occupied RAM memory is 1.34 gigs from my 15.6 or let's say 16 gigs of RAM, which makes this operating system very, very, very lightweight to work with. See, we are already running dozens of processes in the background which are necessary, plus we're running a couple of those in the foreground, and we are spending only 1.37 gigs of RAM. Now, you tell me, is this economic or what? That's the reason why I told you I love this distro, especially this graphical user interface, or GUI, as they would say. The desktop environment is very simplistic, reminds me of the Windows XP or Windows 2004 or Windows 2000, whatever was the name. Windows 2000 Service Pack 4. Yeah, that was the one. It reminds me of that one, but very simple, very ugly, but in the same time beautifully looking and running very smooth. Now, this operating system is equipped with the latest protocols in every possible direction you imagine. So if I start my web browser and I start YouTube, let's just do a little overview of the Whose Line Is It Anyway video on YouTube. and this one. This one is playing, right? Now, this is an old video in low resolution, 480. Not possible to give it anymore. Let's try another one. Even more modern. Whose line is it anyways? And it's from the year of when it was uploaded. It's from the year of who knows when, but it was uploaded not so while ago. 2023, April 9. 720p video. Now you have everything in front of yourself. No glitches. The graphics driver on this sucker is for a graphics card which is called the NVIDIA generic GeForce GTX 980 Ti. Now I could have gone with the Linux factory driver, or let's say community driven driver, but again I'm going to type SU, my personal password, and when I hit enter I'm going to type in NVIDIA settings with a dash in between, right? I think it's called a dash. I hope so. My English is not so good. Hit enter. There we go. This is the proprietary Windows driver for NVIDIA. 525.125.06 for this card, which is also outdated a little bit. The card itself, not the driver. But if you look at the information about this sucker, this card has 6.144 gigabytes of RAM, and it's a 384-bit card, which is a hybrid. It gobbles up a lot of power, lives in a huge, very old PC box from Fujitsu. But this PC is based on an i5-3570K Generation 4, I think, CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and this card, SSD for an operating system, and a mechanical hard drive for data. The power rated in this PC box is 1 kilowatt, 1000 watts. With this operating system, this PC runs incredibly good. Let's do an exit. If we're not going to press any commands, then let's type in the commands. Quit. Pop, no. Then again, exit. And voila. So I should have done exit 2 times. This is just an intro. If you need some information from me while I have some time available, let me know. System is running good, stable, very low on resource, and has less invasion probabilities online on the internet because it's Linux. Think about it. Read about it. I wish you best of 73s and good luck. God bless. YU7 VSN going clear now.